So Liverpool so nearly at the end now of a run of 5 games in 15 days, and that gruelling schedule ends with a tricky fixture. It is at Anfield, yes, but it's Newcastle United coming to Merseyside on Wednesday, and they are a team who are in contention for the Champions League places, and they gave Liverpool a little bit of hell earlier this season, didn't they, when the sides drew 3-3. So this isn't an easy fixture by any means, particularly when it comes after you've played so frequently and so many tough games recently for Liverpool. And so, because they've got a game coming up, of course, I'm here in the car park of the AXA Training Centre, where I've just been hearing from Arne Slot in his pre-match press conference, and I'll start, as I usually do, with the team news. Now, not too much actually for Liverpool to be concerned around fitness issues at the moment. Thankfully, obviously, that's been a bit of a theme of the season. Such a big improvement on last season. So only a couple of issues to get into. Of course, one of them is we know that Joe Gomez is out at the moment, don't we? He's going to go and undergo surgery on a hamstring injury, so we'll be out till quite close to the end of the season. And now, of course, there's another addition to that injury list, which is Conor Bradley. Unfortunately, he limped out, didn't he, when coming on as a substitute against Aston Villa, and we hadn't had a concrete update on where he was up to, but we do now. We asked Arne Slot how he's getting on, and he'd said that it is a muscle issue and he's going to be, quote, out for a few weeks. Now, that is a shame for the player. Obviously, he's had a couple of injuries this season. Obviously, those muscle injuries are one of those problematic ones, aren't they, really, in terms of you can come back from one and then immediately re-injure it, and that can happen. And we know Liverpool are very careful around those, but Conor Bradley's just been maybe a bit unlucky around those. And I think it's a shame for Liverpool as well. I mean, he would have been useful in this run. Could he have come on to give Trent a little bit of a rest towards the end of the Manchester City game? Could he even have started this Newcastle game? And of course, it's all compounded because Joe Gomez is out, which is the other option at right back as well. So again, you're just asking an awful lot of Trent, aren't you, at the moment, particularly going into the games between now and the international break. If there is any upside on that, it's that Liverpool have clearly got a clear weekend coming up, haven't they? Obviously, they've no game this weekend, which is really, really helpful after the run they've been on. And then it's kind of a normal or a more normal schedule going forward, then 2 games a week going up to the international break. So hopefully they can muddle through this period, and hopefully Conor Bradley's maybe back the other side of the international break, but we'll have to wait and see how he gets on in terms of his recovery. Of course, speaking about the workload and how crazy it is for Liverpool at the moment, you do wonder whether rotation maybe comes in as a bit of a plan coming into this Newcastle game. I thought the amount of the work rate that Liverpool have put into these last couple of games in particular, you think about Aston Villa away and City away, 2 really, really tough ones. Would the manager need to shuffle his pack for this one? And I thought it was quite interesting actually when asked about it. The quote was, these players are trained for and used to this, so if they've got to a World Cup or a Euros, they are able to handle playing every kind of 3 days or so. This is the kind of work rate that he's used to getting from them. And so it didn't really sound to me like someone who's planning to make sweeping changes to his starting 11 for the Newcastle game, which I think is quite interesting. Obviously, there's a couple there who you're looking at and you wonder, do they need a rest or not? But the manager, as I say, didn't make it sound like that was going to be the approach. So maybe we could see a very sort of similar 11. And he did say as well that, look, the reason I rotated everyone for the Plymouth game a while ago, of course, that went against us. We didn't win that game. We're out of the FA Cup. But the upside of that was the fact that you have to give the players rests where you can, and that was one of the potential opportunities to do so that you can set them up for a run like this where they're just absolutely head down and trying to get through this run of 5 games in 15 days. And he also said as well, which I thought was interesting, that sometimes when we've only got 1 game a week, he says sometimes I look at the rhythm of the players and the little bit of intensity in the running, they maybe lose that, so they may be even better when they're just playing game after game after game, and maybe so this suits them. But I do wonder whether there is potential still, despite what Arne Slot said there, to just rotate a little. I mean, there's one player in particular I'm massively concerned about, and that is Dominic Szoboszlai. I mean, you saw him after the Manchester City game, collapsed on the pitch, absolutely dead on his feet, could barely speak in his post-match interview as well. He was so tired. I do wonder whether he might be a candidate for a rest. And there's also options to rotate as well without weakening the team. I mean, you look at Diogo Jota should be ready to come in for a start. You would imagine Cody Gakpo is now back and got on the pitch against Man City. So again, offers you a rotational option on that left-hand side. So I would like to see a couple of changes, even if the manager didn't allude to it, and particularly maybe Dominic Szoboszlai, because he really does deserve the rest, I think. Now, away from the team news and what the selection's going to look like, there was actually an awful lot of questions about Mohamed Salah in this press conference. Obviously, his form this season, I mean, I talk about his form this season, he's been phenomenal for Liverpool since day one, but he's been particularly outstanding this season. And there was a few questions about the Ballon d'Or, is he contender for that? Comparisons with Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo when they were in their pomp. And thought Arne Slot's answer on this was fascinating, really, because he spoke about this and said, we hope he can continue this for a longer period of time, but he can only do that if he extends his contract. And he joked after that you guys don't ask me about this anymore. Now, of course, the reason we don't ask him about the contracts anymore is because he straight bats it, never really gives us any real update on it. But I think it's really interesting that he was the one who spoke about it as well. And again, you know, he went into it joking about it again and said, if he does really well, the more expensive he becomes. If he didn't play so good, maybe we would have second thoughts about whether we want to extend him. And so, you know, he's having a joke. He's the one who's bringing it up. And I just thought his general demeanour around Mo Salah and his contract situation was absolutely hugely interesting in this one, because I just think he didn't need to bring it up. The fact he's doing so with a big smile on his face, for me, and I touched on this in my last video, I just can't see a world where Mo Salah leaves Liverpool on a free transfer this summer, to be honest, because look at the form he's in at the moment. Liverpool know that they can't replace that going into the next season. It's absolutely impossible to buy a player who's as good as the best player in the world, so they'll know that they have to keep him. The player himself is absolutely desperate to stay, and you look at the manager, so relaxed about it. Surely all the signs point to the fact that this is going to get over the line and Liverpool are going to really sort it out, because I just can't see him being the one to bring it up in press conferences if it was a really fraught negotiation that we don't think there's going to be any breakthrough in. Of course, we would like to hear about that breakthrough as soon as humanly possible. You want to get that sorted ASAP, and the same goes for Virgil van Dijk and of course Trent Alexander-Arnold. But I'm getting real signs, I think, from the manager, even though he didn't give too much away in what he actually said. I still think there are signs there in his demeanour and how he's discussed this Mo Salah contract today that points towards this getting resolved. It also helps as well, of course, that we haven't heard from Mo himself. He doesn't seem to be as frustrated about this situation as he maybe was a couple of months ago. So does that point to the sign? Are we getting signs there that maybe this is about to be resolved? Let's hope so, because that would be a huge boost for Liverpool, although they don't need too many boosts at the moment because they are in a really good position at the moment, aren't they? Of course, particularly in the Premier League. Now, it is a tough one coming up on Wednesday. I think Anfield is needed. Virgil van Dijk has spoken about that with the players because of how much work they've got through. But you have to say they're on 8 points at the moment. 11 points out of this 15 available in this 5-game run would be an incredible return when you look at the fixtures that Liverpool had. And also this comes on a night when Arsenal have got to go to Nottingham Forest, which is a really tricky fixture, particularly because they don't look in great form at the moment, and Forest under the lights on their own patch. Very difficult picture for them. So I don't think this is a crucial match week by any means, because I still think Liverpool are going to win the league regardless, but I think there's a real opportunity for that gap to get even bigger, so we'll have to see how that goes. But as I say, if you go into Anfield tomorrow, I think you absolutely need to bring the best of yourself, because I think these players are going to need it, because they've been through an awful lot recently. So going to wrap it up there anyway. Let me know what you think about the big talking points in the comments. How are you feeling about that Salah contract, Virgil van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold? Do let me know. And what would you do about the rotation as well? It's a really interesting one for this. I think there's a few rests maybe needed there, but maybe you just go full strength and kind of try and get through this last one and see where you're up to after that. Do let me know your thoughts, and as usual, if you can drop me a like and also subscribe, always massively appreciated. So I'm going to wrap it up there, and I'll see you tomorrow at Anfield.